polity, especially as it affects the Southeast. Yeah. On Mondays, for instance, nothing happens. You don't go to work. You don't go to your manufacturing plant. Yeah. You don't carry out serious economic activities. And this, in a way, have reduced our capacity and capabilities in competing with other regions. Something like power, something like water, something like good road network. These are critical enablers. In your training is for you to read and pass your exams and have the certificate. Yeah. You find out that you may be broad, may not be deep enough. And the implication is that when the chips are down, you may not be able to have that capacity to. Most companies in North use imported packaging materials, which will always appear better than what we have here. So they have that advantage. They open their plant in Enugu and use the economy of scale to flood the entire Southeast with their product, forcing our local bottling water companies to close because you cannot compete. They will be selling at below your cost.
Welcome to Citizens Forum on Sapiencia's channel. Of course, today on Citizens Forum, we are so glad to announce to you the birth of a new program. And that is every last Saturday of the month, we bring you Echoes from Sapiencia Anniversary. The whole idea of this program every month, 12 times a year, is for us to keep alive the main spirit of Sapiencia's anniversary. Last year, 2023, we had our second edition of that platform. And of course, the topic was Igbo Renaissance and Identity between the media and the rest of us. So many things came up from that conversation about how we must revive things in the Southeast, from our morals to politics, to the economy, to manufacturing, and of course, making the Southeast that hub we've always talked about. So today, the first edition of Echoes from Sapiencia Anniversary, we'll still be talking about the Southeast, which is the main focus of this monthly program. But we'll be looking at manufacturing. Everyone in Nigeria agrees that the Southeast has the potential to become the manufacturing, the production hub of the country, because the Southeast is filled with talented, industrious people. And when you talk to people, everyone understands that one of the things that came out from the Nigerian Biafran War was the creativity of the Igbo man. And it was this creativity that made the Igbo have that capacity to hold on for 3 years. Different innovations when it comes to war equipment, when it comes to different kinds of manufacturing. Today, the Southeast is clearly a shadow of itself. And Echoes from Sapiencia Anniversary focuses this edition on the problems facing the manufacturing sector in the Southeast. I'm Jude Geoman, and I welcome you to today's edition. Of course, today, my guest is here seated with me in the studios. He's quite ready, and we bet you're ready. I say welcome to Citizens Forum on Sapiencia's channel, sir.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad to be here.
All right, he's glad to be here. Of course, he's the CEO of Rexton Industries Ltd. Of course, the former chairman of the Onitsha Chambers President of Onitsha Chambers of Commerce. Welcome to the program once again. This is the first time you're coming to this side. You've been to the other side.
Yes. It's a good development.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so let's begin this way, as the average Igbo man will begin conversation when he meets a businessman, and they will only ask you, so tell us how market?
Well, market is fine. We are hanging in there.
Okay.
And we'll keep hanging in there, because that is the hallmark of Igbo men.
All right.
Being resilient. Okay.
All right. But then you talked about being resilient. That's the hallmark of the Igbo man, and that is true. But then being resilient also means that you be resilient even in the face of problems. So as it has to do with manufacturing now, and why manufacturing needs to be the first conversation on this monthly platform. This is actually the first edition, and it's so nice to have you as the maiden guest of this program, is that the Southeast used to be known as that region in the country that produces. In fact, I remember when I was in secondary school, I grew up in northern Nigeria. I remember when I was in secondary school, the biggest thing you could tell anybody about their clothes and they get offended was, this is a vermid. So that just means that all over the country, everybody understood that these guys know how to produce. Yeah. So even when you wear foreign clothes and somebody wants to spite you, they tell you, my friend, get out, this is a vermid. Yes. But then today, the Southeast is a container economy. Where almost every big man, I mean, we remember the days of Oliver de Coque, for instance, yes. And he would praise people, and they were all manufacturers. You know, he would tell you what wine we are drinking now. He would tell you this person produces this. But today, when we listen to high life music, you find out that most people who are being praised are importers, container, you know, this and that. So what really has led the Southeast from a region that produces for the country to a region that imports for the country?
Thank you very much for that question. The implication is that government support and numerous challenges have affected the manufacturing sector, so much so that it becomes more profitable to import goods and sell rather than to manufacture. And this is the bane of our people. These challenges are still there. I'm going to highlight on some of them. All right. And there may be probable ways of solving such problems. Yeah, first and foremost is lack of some basic infrastructure that supports manufacturing. Something like power, something like water, something like good road network. These are critical enablers for manufacturing to take place. Like when you are producing your own power, first of all is that you are limited on the amount of power you can be able to generate. Then secondly, the cost of generating that power is enormous. Diesel is about 1,600 naira today. Something that used to be 200 naira, 150 naira. Now it's 1,600 naira. So if you are using a generator of say 500 kVA, that will require 500 liters of diesel in 8 hours. The cost implication is that you may not be able to break even. It's not even possible. Those that are still in manufacturing do have lion heart. And I just pray to God that things will change. Otherwise, the situation might lead to most people closing shops. But God forbid. Then another challenge there is water. Everybody relies on borehole. When you get your water from borehole, that means you will treat it. And treating water to get it to a level where you can use it for food and some other processes costs a whole lot of money. And these are things that also add to the total cost of production. Then you now talk about roads. Although in recent time there are changes in the state, the governor is doing well. Most roads are receiving face-ups, but we still need very good roads, very good network of roads, not just in Anambra State, but within the Southeast region and within Nigeria. Because if the roads are bad, you may not be able to get your raw materials at the required time. And even when you produce, you might not be able to take it to those that require it. So roads infrastructure is very, very important in for manufacturing sector. Then you think of some other thing like high cost of borrowing. If you look at Anambra State or Southeast in general, you will notice that we don't have a lot of heavy industries. And it is not unconnected with availability of finance. Availability of finance. So much so that what you may have as collateral may not really give you the kind of money that you require. Because most times, same property in Southeast will attract less finance from a bank.
Okay.
When you compare the same thing with a similar property in Lagos. So the implication is that we are at a disadvantage at first instance. So having that capacity to be able to get finance that will enable you modernize, enable you to expand, and even enable you to bring your dream to life is very difficult. And I hope that with interventions from Bank of Industry, from some state government partnering with Bank of Industry, that the situation might change. Another challenge that we have is high operating cost. High operating cost. This high operating cost is hinged on what I said earlier: energy, transportation, and of course, you are being able to redistribute your products, and then multiple taxation. Multiple taxation. You are paying so much on the same thing from various agencies. The governor of Anambra State promised to address that issue, and I hope that he does. Multiple taxation is killing industries in the state, and we just have to, support the industries in order to grow, because it is only when you have grown that you will be able to pay adequate taxes. If you look at different climes that are doing so well, you will see that the government was able to support their industries to succeed. And when industries succeed, they will employ more people, they will generate more money, and they will be able to pay their taxes. But if taxes and payments are coming to you at the point you are still struggling, the implication is that you may not grow beyond a certain level. So these are some of the challenges that we face. Then again, you look at policy somersault. That is the hallmark of Nigerian situation at all levels. You find that it makes it impossible for you to plan for the future, because you don't know what will happen. Whether what you are planning will be banned, or whether another situation may come up that will make it impossible for your plans to materialize. So this government should look at these policy changes and ensure that at any point in time it is done in such a way that all the key stakeholders are carried along, so that they can make contribution and be able to tell those that make policies things that will affect them adversely if it's not taken into consideration. So continuous change of policies is a problem. Then you now look at, again, issue of instability in the polity, especially as it affects the Southeast. On Mondays, for instance, nothing happens. You don't go to work. You don't go to your manufacturing plant. You don't carry out serious economic activities. And this, in a way, have reduced our capacity and capabilities in competing with other regions. And the situation is still there. I know that efforts are being made. I remember that the late Chukwuemeka Ezife, one of the things he pleaded with former head of state, Muhammadu Buhari, was to release Nnamdi Kanu, which appears to be the focal point that led to this sit at home on Mondays. And that was not done. Up till now, our people are still suffering. And we are losing lots and lots of money on account of that sit at home. Because you pay salaries to your workers on Mondays. If you decide to make it as pay as you go at that level, it will look good, it will portray you in good light, and it will also affect your people negatively, because these are the things you take into consideration. Your workers are your primary and prime customer in the first instance. So you must make sure that they are comfortable, they are well paid, and all that. So it's a very big problem. So this instability is affecting us negatively. Then you look at the issue of personnel gap. Personnel gap. Yeah. Yes, in Anambra State, there is a huge personnel gap. In the sense that I don't think I've seen, even our own children, people that are aspiring to live in Onitsha as part of the aspiration. Yeah. You see people that grew up here, go to school, qualify. Their aim will be to go to Lagos, to go to Abuja, to go to Port Harcourt. Yeah. So because of limited opportunities that are found here, but that has led to serious personnel gap for manufacturing sectors in the state. Some specialized areas, you don't see people that can handle it.
Can you give an example of what these specialized areas are?
Okay, let me just give you a very simple example.
Yes.
One of my friends was looking for an accountant that has software capability. And it became a problem. Something as simple as that. Because there are most companies here have not started, applying some of these modern techniques in manufacturing. So most people that have such skills, you see them moving to Abuja, you see them moving to Lagos, you see them moving to Port Harcourt. So when the need arises here, you find out that there might not be any person. So you now see people going to Lagos, going to Abuja and Port Harcourt to see if they can recruit people that have such capacity. So it's funny, but it's true. This is just one example.
Yeah. There are so many.
There are so many of it. So issue of personnel gap is an issue. Then, of course, one of the biggest challenges, again, is in the area of human resources. Human resources generally, because most times our institutions are turning out people that may not be able to fill in the required gap in manufacturing sector because of the nature of their training. I hope that that is being addressed.
When you say the nature of their training, I mean, they can't fill in the gap. The gap is there.
Yeah, the gap is there.
But they can't fill it.
Yes.
So how do you explain this?
The explanation is simple. If the aim in your training is for you to read and pass your exams and have the certificate, you find out that you may be broad, may not be deep enough. And the implication is that when the chips are down, you may not be able to have that capacity to fulfill certain requirements.
I like how simply you put this. You say you might be broad, but not deep enough.
Yes, not deep enough, because this is the hallmark of our academic institutions. Although now they have made it compulsory. No, most schools are now offering entrepreneurship training. And the entire curriculum in our universities are supposed to be overhauled. You look at the needs of your immediate environment in designing your curriculum. It's so simple. And then you should be able to integrate it in such a way that students will have the opportunity to go for IT. Maybe 3 months, 6 months, and towards the end of their training, so that they will now look at what they have learned and see how it compares with what happens in employment industry. So human resource is a very big problem. Then what also happens in our schools, the area of people cheating to get degrees or students not being very serious in their studies, also rubs off on qualified students. And the implication is that somebody will have a certificate but may not be able to meet the demands of that profession. So
You know, you say this, and I remember something that trended quite recently in Nigeria, and I remember putting up a post on Facebook, and I condemned it, and I'm like, we are not serious supporting what we are supporting. Where somebody went to the altar of God, climbed the altar of God. I mean, I'm a broadcaster, and I look at that church, I wouldn't stand up to, you know, for a testimony in that church because of the sheer size. You know, but then we had a very beautiful sister of ours who climbed the pulpit and declared that she had broken generational curses to become a lawyer in her family. I found her English wanting. But then here we live in a society that makes an excuse and says, is English your mother language? But then you read law, for heaven's sake. You're not going to defend me in Efik. You're not going to come to court to plead in Igbo. You're not going to come to court to plead in Hausa. You're going to come to court and argue in English. And then the second one, people say, oh, it might be stage fright. And I'm like, stage fright makes you forget what you're in school to study and share the BSc in law. And we have Nigerians, you know, saying, cutting her some slack. Now I heard she's a celebrity. But that brings me to the next question I'm going to ask you. And, you know, you painted a perfect picture of the problem with manufacturing in Southeast Nigeria. And I've been trying to mentally split these problems to talk about who should solve these problems. And a lot of them fall on the doorstep of the government. And so we are going to talk about the government, especially, because I'm looking at power, I'm looking at water, I'm looking at good road network, I'm looking at the high cost of borrowing, and high cost of borrowing, the interest rate and all of that, still government. I'm looking at high operating costs, I'm looking at the policy somersault, I'm looking at sit at home. All of these things can never be solved if you do not have the government. So government will take a special note. But let us also talk about some kind of attitudes and, you know, I mean, for like someone in Sapiens here, we get that a lot, and I get that a lot. And people like, will this thing work in Onitsha? Okay? And you talked about the personal gap. You talked about IT, for instance. You talked about people being broad, but not deep. That's wonderful. But then let's talk about something that can also help. And this is where everyone can come in. I mean, anybody listening to this program, maybe a change of attitudes could help, right? And that is also look at how so many of our businesses, people who are in manufacturing, maybe because I'm in Onitsha, the people I see guilty of this mostly are traders. I don't know if that is what happens in manufacturing. You look at their peers in other regions, in the north, in Lagos and Abuja, and Port Harcourt, where everybody wants to run to. You see people who, for instance, are operating a business worth 30, 50 million naira. And they understand the need to employ certain kind of skill sets to scale their business. They understand the need, right? And so when they set up business, they want to get these people. Now, what does that do? That attracts. But you come down to the Southeast, for instance. Like I said, I don't know much about manufacturing, maybe because I'm in Onitsha and I see traders a lot. But then you see somebody running, a business, maybe 400 million, 500 million, and then the person believes from the bottom of his heart that the best way to operate is to get somebody from the village. I mean, I'm not against the one boy system, it's an excellent one, but then they just disagree that the best thing to do is to, encourage to bring in some kind of skill set. Is that not also a problem? And then I'll give an example with patronage too, because these are things the people can do. If you listen to Ndibo on social media, or wherever, talk, you will think, I'll use an example of a business everybody's talking about. I'll give an example because it's manufacturing, Innocent. If you hear Ndibo condemn the government for not patronizing Innocent, you will actually think every Igbo billionaire drives Innocent. And so you will actually think that Ndibo who, drive Innocent, and then the only thing remaining is for the government to patronize. But that's not so. If you also look at, for people who are producing products that are into the, lifestyle-based, like drinks, for instance, these are things, lifestyle and all of that. If you listen to the way Ndibo talk about being marginalized and everything, if you listen to how Ndibo talk about other regions and even politics at the center, I'm not saying those things do not exist, but if you hear how they complain about it, if you hear how Ndibo talk about those industrialists who are outside of the region, to come back home, you actually think every Igbo person has the orientation that let us patronize those who produce here first. Maybe when we can't find it, then we go elsewhere. But that's not the case. Even though they keep saying, come back home, come back home. But those who are home, who are producing, I don't know. But I don't see that orientation that let us patronize our own. Let us, maybe if we keep patronizing our own, then we'll grow. But Ndibo still patronize, you know, foreign goods. So how can we get that what kind of orientation do you think we need as a people first, because we'll talk about government, that can help encourage production and manufacturing in the Southeast?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. You know, the Igbos are, you know, we have penchant naturally for foreign things because of our culture and the way we are structured. I will come to that later. But the government should be at forefront in solving some of these problems. Take, for instance, the issue of power. Power generation was formally put in exclusive list.
True.
Exclusive list means that it is only the federal government that can do something about it.
Yeah.
But in recent time, that caveat has been removed. It's now in concurrent reign. What it means is that state governments can generate power. They can partner with people to generate power.
True.
So gas has been associated with being the best in firing turbines. Now, if you go to the West, industries there use these gas turbines to operate. And on the whole, what they spend is just 50% of what steady power supply from EEDC will have cost them. So for, the implication is that it will be difficult for you to compete with them because they have cheap power.
You mean the Southwest, yeah?
Southwest, yes. It's gas all over Abara State and all over all the industries within and around. But here, it is not so. We don't have gas pipelines here. So our government should start thinking in that direction to find ways of partnering with companies.
But was that a federal government? Sorry, I'm not cutting short.
Yes.
What you just explained now, because one of the questions I said I was going to ask you is, why do most manufacturing, why are they in Ogun State? I don't know why, but is it a federal government supported thing or is it actually state government?
Well, it is both. In the sense that, you know, the Yorubas are ahead of us in understanding some basic things, understanding the importance of providing proper infrastructure and the enabling environment for businesses to thrive. So what the Ogun State government did, in partnership with private sector, was to put in a gas pipeline within the industrial estates in Abara and Ota. So that if you are located there, all you need to do is to have a gas turbine and then you now plug in with a meter. It becomes very easy for you. And there are companies in this country that even provide gas turbines for you and meter you, so they will own the facility while you just pay as you go.
Okay.
We don't have that here. Some of us have tried it, but they require you to consume a minimum level of power, or if they can identify clusters, which we only have in Harbour Estate, we have clusters there. And of course, I think there is 33 line there, so power is not so much of a challenge for them. But those of us that are located in other places find it difficult to have access to this power infrastructure that can enable us to do well. Then you have the challenge of patronage of locally produced things. Take, for instance, in the area of vehicles, it is the government that will be at the forefront. Then companies too can negotiate and then start patronizing. It is when such things happen that private individuals will now be convinced that these local products are good. Our governor last time said he patronizes made in Anambra goods, which is good because in government functions, you see bottled water made in Anambra and some other things made in Anambra. So we should start having that mind to support our own. I'll give you an example. There was this story about some Chinese students that were studying in Europe at the end of Second World War in mid-50s. If they want to go and buy pencils, you see them buying Chinese pencils. And those Chinese pencils are not good enough, but they still keep buying it, and other students were making fun of them. And their reply was that if they, as Japanese persons, cannot use their product, who will use it? So we should be proud of our products. By the way, made in Nigeria goods or made in Anambra goods are very good. The only problem you might see in some cases is in packaging, which is a general problem that requires a lot of cost. So most companies in North use imported packaging materials, which will always appear better than what we have here. So, but in terms of quality of the products, our products are good. Look at electric cables. It's made in Nigerian cables that are the best. Imported cables are, I'm sure you know about this. And this your studio must have been done with the
100% Nigerian.
So Nigerian products are good. Yep. So my point is that we just have to take that first step towards supporting our own.
All right.
It is when we support our own that we can thrive. Then government should also look at manufacturers that may require support. Okay. I'll give you one clear example. If you look around now, you will notice that Aquafina is everywhere. Why did they have that advantage? They opened their plant in Enugu and used the economy of scale to flood the entire Southeast with their product, forcing our local bottling water companies to close because you cannot compete. They will be selling at below your cost because of one is there's proximity already. Enugu is not far. Then secondly, they had the resources to bring in an automatic plant that will enable them to produce 10,000, 15,000 packs in a day. So before you know it, they are everywhere. So these are the kind of stuff. That's why I say that the government should be at the forefront to support industries to succeed. Then our people too should also broaden their mind. Yeah. You know, in Igbo land, we have that culture of owning it. Yeah. Everybody wants it to be his own. Even when you are in manufacturing, you want your successor to be your son, to be maybe your daughter, or to be your relation. So these have also affected the growth of manufacturing in the South, because where such individuals that are relatives are not interested in joining such a company, or they are not competent enough to do it, you see the business failing once the promoter starts ailing or start getting old. Because these things require passion. Yeah. And how do you get people with passion? They are everywhere. It's for you to scout. It does not matter whether it's your son or your daughter. Yeah. You encourage them to step in and groom them so that they will be able to stand in the gap and be able to also take over, to take your business to the next step. That is why most businesses in the state that we are doing very well in the 80s and 90s, True. Most of them have failed. True. Because of inadequate succession plan. It's one of the basic problems that is also affecting manufacturing section. Because as you develop, you must be ready to infuse new blood into your system so that the system will keep modernizing and keep being able to compete effectively with others. But if we are not doing that, or if you are waiting for only a child to come up and take over from you, it may not happen. And with time, the system will fail. But again, on the part of employees, I think there's even a bigger problem there. Because of that attitude of owning it, you bring in, you employ somebody now. what he'll be doing is to be sizing up the company, planning to start his own as he's still in your own.
Yes.
So you will see that his allegiance, no matter what you do, it has nothing to do with remuneration, which could be part of it. But no matter what you do, you see the person being ready to move on once he gains some knowledge and some experience. Even when you have promises of making them shareholders, bringing them to be part of the business, everybody wants to go out and own it. And that mentality must change. Because that is why our people suffer. Our people suffer a lot. We struggle from morning till night, no means of recreation, no holidays, no nothing, all in a bid to struggle so much so that you own everything. And that is not possible. Because the way God created the world is such that you must design it to be sustainable. If it's not sustainable, and sustainability means being able to infuse new ideas, as you are moving. So, so it's still on the part of employees and on part of employers. Everybody must strike a balance so that we can be able to build up something that is enviable in Southeast. It's so unfortunate that some world-class companies that were established in this state in the past, that most of them have almost failed.
So I think it was in 2017 when the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria was specific about the Southeast. I think they released one last month where they talked about, because of the economic situation of the country, when they talked about 385 or so businesses being shut down in Nigeria. But in 2017, sometime in August, they were specific about the Southeast, and they said within 5 years, 75 manufacturing firms have closed down. So honestly, thank you very much for, you've enlightened us a lot, and I've really picked up something from what you said. You said it in passing, you explained it a little, right? It's going to be the topic of next edition of this program, when you talked about succession plan. I think that is one of the biggest problems. The first time I came to Onitsha, I remember somebody painted a picture, and I've seen that picture today. We were actually in federal housing here, and he told me that it's something that has always happened. He grew up here. That has always happened here in Onitsha, where he grew up, and you can multiply that around the Southeast. And he said, you see, that the people they knew as billionaires when they were growing up, their children are not the billionaires of today. That is actually the Umu boy of yesterday who became the billionaires. Yes. And that the problem now he's also seeing with, how they are running their business, including their kids, that their children will also turn up not to be the billionaires of tomorrow. It's actually, and that trend will always continue. That it's not like they learned any lesson. They learned any lesson at the end of the day. It's just they continue doing the same thing and turning up. I think that is also a great problem. All right, this is saying a very special thank you to Sir Chris Ukachukwu. No, the program has not ended. It's time for them to grill you.
Okay. It's all right.
The CEO of Rexton Industries. I mean, we're still talking about manufacturing in the Southeast. What are the challenges? And he has not only talked about the challenges, he has also talked about how those challenges can be solved, and that is most important. Let's say something before this happens. Do you foresee a situation where manufacturers in the Southeast, I'm not saying they should start becoming politicians, but start thinking about, I mean, it happens in places like America, so I don't know if it can or it can't happen here. Start thinking about being interested in people who get in, even if it's around the policy-making corridors, so they can bring all of this conversation to politics. Is that going to happen? Is that in the works? I know manufacturers might have a problem with becoming politicians, but, thinking about the kind of people who make policies and how they influence it.
Well, it's a function of the kind of politics we play in the country. In this country, the truth is that if you have a running business, you should not have anything to do with politics.
You've said it all.
Yes, because if you do, you may get your hand burnt. and you may not like it in the end. So politics should be left for politicians. But if you want to, as a manufacturer, want to venture into politics, you must be able to divest yourself from your manufacturing concern. So that you don't get entangled in any way, so that your businesses will not become a target, or you may not be able to have not given enough time to be able to sustain the business.
So you either win or you lose all.
Yes. So the fact is that not that manufacturers cannot be politicians, but if you want to become a politician, you must have gotten to the level where you can extricate yourself from day-to-day running of the business, so that you can really make your contribution. Because if manufacturers and top businessmen goes into politics, our politics will be better, because they'll be more pragmatic. They will. They are not going there to enrich themselves because they are already rich. So you find out that it becomes a win-win for the people. But the fact is that it is not always easy for people who have
who are still active in business
to involve in politics.
Even though I'm not going to mention a name, I think a name rings in my head of someone whom, even though has made his money in business and all, but I don't think he's the one actively running his business. Now goes into national politics, and I don't know if there's a hit back on him, but maybe we don't see it much. All right.
Jude Geoman.
Yes, welcome.
Good morning.
Yes, welcome.
Guest.
All right.
So I didn't get his name initially.
Sir Chris Ukachukwu.
Okay, Sir Chris, good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you.
Mr. Zika, Racing Report Manager.
Yes.
Let me thank you for, in fact, opening our eyes and educating manufacturers, especially the southeasterners. Are you getting it? Not that others are regional, not important, but we are putting our eyes to see the reason why our people do run to other. Are you getting it?
Yes.
And we advise the South governors to find a means of getting such down here. Just like you said, we lack industries here, which is one of the things that developed an environment. And this power issue of a thing, how do you know, when the ED's office is not too far from the Sapienza Radio, you may not be surprised if you go there, they are powering their distance with generator. They're about to give us light.
Yes.
So it's very, very appalling. One of the things that drives industry is light. If you don't have light, let me tell you, people are trying, and those people who have manufacturing company, you have to pay your workers, you have to do certain things, you have to change your machines and every other thing. But if all you cut goes to diesel, because that's the cheapest thing a company can use, not fuel. But today, it has become, it has concentrated, that have become the costly. I know of a company who doesn't, they on their gen hourly. Are you getting it?
Yes.
Maybe 2 hours, and they will go 3 hours off. That manpower, is it not lost?
It's lost completely.
Just like you said, if you are paying somebody monthly and some days are taken off, it's not a good one. But we know why it is so. And we pray that it will end soon as possible. And those who knows what is holding the young man there should hasten, so that we will find a kind of normal working day. Are you getting it?
Yes.
And again, let our governors encourage our guards. When I say our guards, those who have the money, people who have the money to invest, but because of insecurity, they're not comfortable. Most of people I know in Ota, things they produce there and sent to China. It's not China. But it's not down there like in Ota. Ota is not Lagos. Ota should go to state, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Ogun State.
So if we have such here, we have a industrial layer here, where you have intervals, where you have all those people. But how are they faring with this kind of ability power supply? And then our people, just like you said, our business is Okeke and Sons Nigeria Limited. it ends up within that man's record. Not even the child and sons they are not involved in that particular kind of business. If you want to register a business, consult those who knows about it. Anything you're establishing, make sure you have a successor of people who will. It may not be your children. Are you getting it? Just like you said, there are people who do seek for jobs in such companies, not to contribute their quota, but to find the secret of what they are doing. And 2 or 3 days or 1 year, person will zoom off. That is not how to grow business. All of us must not be. All fingers are not equal. At least when you start somebody, if you're establishing your own, your boss or the company will be happy that this man has started us. So let us not throw away that habit of trying to go to the company to know their secret and then come out. It doesn't encourage any competitiveness. I passed through Enugu. If you after a month see, before you go to Nightmare, I saw a gigantic company there. When I asked, they said company they are responsible for producing ties, and it was a China company in Nigeria. Let our people invest. If you see that place and people that work there, I don't know the number, but they are somehow something. That reminds me of a company. Those years towards on the road, where they are producing beverages towards after Oli. That's environment. I hope do you know about the company? I forgot it something. Okay.
Yeah, I get to see.
DK.
DK.
DK, yes.
Years back, when I used to fly the road, each time in the evening, come and see workers. But today, how is the company?
It's folded up. It's folded up.
Something is happening there because of lack of opportunity. So please, let our people, if you own a company, break up people that can make that company to work. That is why we are talking about or those who are professionals. They like breaking those as just like a foreign company has doing to Nigerians here. They will go and employ those who are not qualified, just like government who will not employ a graduate looking for school start to be employed, so that the money will be small. That's what they're doing in their company. That is why, if anything is spoiled, nobody knows how to fix it. But when you employ a qualified professional in that field, there's no way you employ a professional today, next month you will leave. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah,
you're
right.
You can't employ a professional in a company. In the space of 1 month, he left. No, it's not possible. Because there will be time and reference applied to the work he or she is doing. Let us bring those who can grow. Company is all about people. Not about the particular that you can be the CEO, you don't know the security of those how to run it. Let us bring people who knows how to run it. That's what this company is about. And when your product is good, you are good to go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Your commentaries is fine, and you touched on almost most of the things we mentioned. The issue of insecurity. Let's keep praying and hoping. Government is doing a lot. Things are evening out, but it's not yet hooray. Then you post something about a Chinese company near Ninth Mile, and today he is doing marvelously well. So what our government can do is to ensure that they provide enabling environment for businesses to thrive. If you have an enabling environment, then you can attract investors. Yeah. And then those investors, as they come, will attract a high-scale job that will bring up development. Because you know the pattern of development we are seeing here is building shops here and there. It doesn't develop any place because managing a shop has a limited scale, and we're not even doing our shops in such a way that it will be enviable for people to come in there and relax and do businesses. You know, you see people who are rich, you know, entering pigeonholes as shop. That is not right. If people want to develop shops and business, they should be able to plan it, build a place that will cover, where the entire place will be covered if you enter. If it's raining or if there is sunshine, you won't even know the kind of shops you find in some northern states. But it's the industry of the people that drives it. Even though they have that infrastructure. Sure. But we don't have the infrastructure, but we have the industry. So our government should be able to liaise and create regulatory framework for establishment of some of these markets so that it will be a conducive place where people will be able to come in, do businesses, feel happy, and go home. Business shops, areas with warehouses, medical facilities, you know, things that will make life, make life worth living. It's important that we start thinking in that direction. That's why I said we'll start changing our values and our culture. It's important that we start thinking in that direction.
All right. I think this is a beautiful place to live it. And just like you said, the whole idea of this platform is not just like somebody said. The whole country is very important, but then if the Southeast is developed, it's not only developed, it's not only progressive for the people of the Southeast. It is indeed just like, I mean, look at Northern Nigeria. If Northern Nigeria can really focus on agricultural revolution, it's going to impact on everybody, including me here, because I mean we are going to get food cheaper. So if you want to talk about one of the strengths of the Southeast, then you can't do but talk about manufacturing and production and the unique problems we do face in the Southeast. I want to thank you very much, Sir Chris Ukachukwu, CEO of Rexton Industries Ltd and former president of the Onitsha Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for coming to the program today. We really do appreciate this.
Yes, thank you very much. It's my pleasure. I just wanted to say that let us continue to support manufacturing businesses and manufacturers and their goods. It's important that we take that up so that when people produce things, they should be able to receive patronage. Yes. And if there is patronage, then there will be sustainability. And that sustainability will now grow the business.
All right, this is saying thank you to you for making this happen. Definitely Citizens Forum will be here, same time, same station next week. Don't forget the next edition of Echoes from Sapiencia Lecture Anniversary will come same time, same station. The last, I can't remember the date now, but next month. Do have a beautiful day ahead.